you for joining us. I am Alex Chisnell from the Festival of Enterprise. It's my pleasure to be joined by Fran Borman, who you can see in the bottom left of your screens today. Hope you're all safe and well. Hope you've all had a super productive week. Been really tempting with this amazing weather. If you're lucky enough to have a garden like me to get outside and not focus on your work. So I'm glad it is Friday. It's been an amazing week. For those of you who've joined me during this course of this week, thank you. For those of you, this is your first experience. Go back this weekend, look at the replays. We've got another 3-4 weeks worth of amazing presentations from really inspiring entrepreneurs and CEOs in there that will help you. So I am going to hand you over to Fran Borman very shortly. We're talking about earning from home, and during this webinar, Fran's going to cover how to successfully earn from home so that you have the time to pursue your passion, something that I think we'd all like to be able to do, but not all get to do. She'll also cover the most common mistakes people make when trying to earn from home and how to avoid them. And then we'll have a Q&A to answer any questions you may have. Now, Fran is the founder of Goal 17, the UK's leading mentor training company. Fran's set up and run a number of successful multi-million-pound organizations. She's also been voted Female Business Influencer of the Year by Global Woman. So this is somebody that we'll all be able to take some great lessons from this morning. I'm now going to hand over to Fran. I'm going to bring up her presentation, and then I'll bring her up on screen afterwards to answer your questions. Easiest way to ask Fran or myself a question is to pop it up in a chat box that you should be seeing in the right-hand side of your screen. There's also an ask a question button, but bizarrely, Fran doesn't get to see that, only I do. So it's a very strange thing of this platform. So if you pop questions up in the chat box, that is the best way for people to post up your questions and for us to see them and give you an answer. So look, thank you for joining us. Jeremy from Warwick, Amara is in Birmingham, John is in Lincoln, Sam, Stephen is in Norwich. So all areas of the country. Let us know where you are watching from, guys. Hope the weather is as good for you as it is for me here. Fran, I'm assuming you're in London, but I might be wrong.
Oh, I'm in Kent, actually. Kent, Sussex borders.
Nearly. Okay. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to bring up your presentation. Fran, I'm going to take your video away so we improve the quality of the broadcast here. So there we go. I'm going to knock off the video for Fran, guys. Now, there we go. And myself as well. And leave you with Fran's presentation of the 3 business positioning mistakes.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Alex, and lovely to be here this morning. And well done to all of you that have got yourself organised. Hopefully people are dressed from the top or the bottom, the waist upwards in the wonderful world of Zoom that we are living these days and online conferences. So I'm going to take you through this morning the 3 biggest mistakes that I see so many people make, and hope that we give you some ideas of how to move forward. Because if you're like most people, when you look to find a way to earn from home or build a business, you run into lots of challenges, and I hear of people that struggle to find the right opportunity to earn from home, or they have an idea but then they struggle to access the funds or what they really need to get their business off the ground. You might be like many people, like I was, and spent many hours researching and learning in order to launch your business, but have yet to make a significant profit or any money at all for that matter. Or perhaps you're like I was when I started out and I lacked the confidence and belief in myself. Maybe you've got a vision of what you want to achieve, but lack the support and process to get there. And if any of that sounds like you, then you are in the right place this morning, because I'm going to help you find solutions to some of the questions right here today. But before we get started, you might be asking, well, who is this Fran girl and why should I listen to her? So I want to share with you a little bit about me, because I'm not some sort of theoretical life coach who's going to share with you management theories. I'm actually going to share with you real life business experience that I've put into action myself to make significant success. And to share with you some of that, I'm going to share with you one example. So one business that I launched over years ago, I found a way to earn a solid income. Oh, let's see if I can move on the slides. For some reason, Let's see if we can move. Oh, there we go. So I found a solid way to earn over £250,000 take-home pay from this one thing. And I did that whilst being a single mum to two rather spirited young children. Specifically, the second one is a little bit more of a handful. And I was at home being their full-time carer until only late 2016, when I finally got them both to school. And as you can see, that second one there is that cheeky all the time. And I did this, not just this business, but at the same time I built up another business, which I managed to exit around 2018. And all of this gave me the opportunity to launch my real passion, which was Goal 17, which Alex has already kindly mentioned. So what I want to set your mind frame today is that we're going to talk about different ways to think about how you approach business and how you approach earning from home. And if you've got a passion or a hobby or something that you really want to make into a business, you might need to think differently, because for these 10 years, what I was building wasn't necessarily my passion, but it led me to my passion. And in the space of launching Goal 17 in 2019, which is really just over a year ago, it's been a phenomenal year. So having that foundation of other businesses meant that within a year, I was able to win multiple awards, get recognition, work alongside some amazing celebrities, be featured in all sorts of the press, be featured in Forbes, BBC Radio, and even be invited to work as an advisor to the government on women in enterprise. And it seemed like to so many people an overnight success, but it actually came from those years of building up solid business foundations. And what I want to do is show you really the secret to what that was, and how I found that there were actually 3 big but completely fixable mistakes that I was making and so many other people were making. So let's kick it off with mistake number 1, which is the passion over profits mistake. So many of the people I speak to tell me how when they're trying to earn an income from home, they're often working on a business or a hobby that they're really passionate about, but they're frustrated. They try and look at their hobby in a different way to make money, but the commitment that they need to do that means that they lose their weekends or free time in what feels like work. And that kind of defeats the whole point of just still being flat out trying to earn. Some tell me that they're amazing business ideas, about all these amazing ideas that they have to help others, and how they watch these inspiring videos and books that say, you know, if you find something you're passionate about, invest in it. And when they try this, it just doesn't seem to work out. And they understand that to get a business up and running, they have to make some sort of investment, but just don't know where to get the support and funding from. And many invest thousands of pounds, and it breaks their heart and my heart as well, because they're unable to materialize it and just have to put it down to a learning experience. And these are all symptoms of an ironic issue that seems to hold so many people back, because in order to actually achieve kind of real clarity of thought and a success in business from a passion or hobby, you can't rely on that passion or hobby for income, not at first, at least anyway. So when you need something to pay your bills, it's really hard to make that same thing fulfill your passion. And if we look at other business owners through this time, they've all approached this and had the same challenge. So let's take one of the most famous entrepreneurs that we'll all know, good old Richard Branson. Now, he started his business mail ordering records. Now, he may have been passionate about music, but mail ordering records wasn't what he dreamed of. And as we now know, what he really dreamed of was having his head in the clouds, whether that was in a rocket, a hot air balloon, or an aeroplane. But he needed to have that foundation, and from selling mail order records, he learned the skills that he needed and built the financial standing to go on and build what he wanted. Exactly the same happened with Elon Musk. Again, he wasn't particularly passionate about payment processing when he launched Xcot.com, which, as many of you will know, later became PayPal. However, he needed that business to build the funding that he needed to go and do what he was really passionate about, which was creating an environmentally sustainable future that was still quite fast and speedy. So this mistake is a mistake that I see so many people, and that I also made myself, which is where you go after a passion and what you really want to do, but without having the profits and the understanding and the real skills to launch it. So that's the passion without profits. And the way to mitigate that is to not rely on it at first, maybe be working towards it, but have other ways that build up an income before you do that. And that leads us on quite nicely to the next mistake, which is the searching mistake. So In pursuit of finding ways to earn from home, so many people spend hours every evening browsing the internet and Facebook, seeing what other people do, doing research, but not really getting anywhere. And I'll put my hand up and know that I did that for years. And they ask themselves, what can I offer that's different and important to people right now? And lots of people are asking that question. How can I start something right now in addition to what everyone else is offering? Many discover that they need to go on this big journey of upskilling and investing in training on how to best deliver what they do, often having to learn how to best deliver that over a computer. And they invest thousands of pounds, which they struggle to earn back. And most believe that their only choice, other than a part-time job, is to actually start their own thing, even if they don't believe that they're massive entrepreneurs. Often they'll initially launch one business, but later discover that they started out on the wrong foot, repivot, and start doing market research all over again. And I'm sure many of you will relate to that, as I know I did in the early days. So I know what it's like when you know that you've got it inside you and that doing your own thing is just something that you've always wanted to do. But I found a solution to these mistakes is that I spent too many hours searching and investing in skills that just didn't materialize. And what I discovered was there was actually an underlying problem, and that we were often brought up with completely the wrong perception. Because I don't know about you, but I was brought up to believe that there were two things that you could do. One was basically go get a job, and that represented security. And the other was be an entrepreneur, which represented high risk. And in the old world thinking, it was very much that security lied in the job and risk was being an entrepreneur. And of course, in our new world, and definitely with what's happened in the last few months, that has completely been proved untrue. That actually there isn't the same security in a job. And unlike our grandparents, it's highly unlikely any of us are going to work for 40 years for the same company and retire on a really great pension. And this security that we used to associate with jobs isn't there. But the same with entrepreneurship. Yes, there are going to still be a few people that risk, you know, remortgaging their houses and everything for a crazy idea. And there will always be those high risk entrepreneurs, but there are loads of other ways that people are earning money and having their own businesses without having to be in that high risk. So what I want to do is reset your mindset and realize that actually the risk scale doesn't look like this anymore. The risk scale looks like this. Now the risk is at the extremities, and the safety and security is in the middle. The safety and security comes from not just having one income stream, but having multiple income streams. The safety and security comes from not necessarily working completely on your own as an entrepreneur, but maybe working in groups with others, having different ways that you earn. So I want you to ask yourself, is this a mistake that you're sort of falling into at the moment? Are you one of those people that thinks either it's a job or entrepreneurship, it's one or the other? Or are you one of those people that's able to see that actually the real security lies in that middle ground? And that's the real searching mistake that I'd love to help you with, which leads on to our final mistake of the day, which is the just one, just me mistake. And for this, I want you to imagine that you are in a theoretical rowing boat and you want to cross the ocean of the to the other side, and on the side that you're on is where you're at, and the other side of the ocean is the success that you want for yourself and your family. And you're in this rowing boat, but the unfortunate thing is you've just been given one oar. And those of you that have ever tried this will know that it is difficult to row a rowing boat with one oar. Now, it's not impossible, but it is difficult. And when you've got one oar, you can try and you'll spend hours and you'll go in circles a lot, and it's hard work. Eventually, you will get a technique that propels you forward, and there's a chance that you could make it across the ocean, but you're probably going to exhaust yourself out before that happens. And even if you do work out the technique, if the tides change, you might find yourself dragged back to shore or in completely the wrong direction. And this is the situation that so many people wanting to start a business and earn from home find themselves in. They've got their one oar and they're in that boat on their own. And I know that it can make them feel really unhappy and stressed, and make them feel like they're not even doing a good job anymore because they just don't have the energy and passion to put into it. And they can work so hard and work long hours and suddenly find that the satisfaction and reward isn't there anymore because they're not getting in their destination quick enough. So how different would it be if you actually had two paddles rather than just one? You had two paddles in your boat, because with two paddles you can go propel yourself forward much more effectively and faster. And this goes back to what I mentioned a minute ago, not just having one business, one passion, but having a couple of paddles. Some paddles will be stronger than others. Some will push you further, faster, but actually not just relying on one paddle. But also it can be really great if you're not in the boat on your own and you've got other people in that boat with you. Now, ideally, you don't want people like this, people that are just there for the ride and to kind of drag you down. In fact, I've just realized there's a bottom on view on that slide, which I hadn't realized originally, but there you go. I'm sure we can all cope with just a little bit of moonlight this morning. But yes, you don't want people in your boat that are just there to kind of hold you back and there for the ride. You want people like this, people that are pulling hard and rowing with you. And this is, again, the just one, just me mistake, which I'm going to bring all together in the 3 mistakes to tell you the real secret. So the secret here to finding your success, and the secret that I found, and not only myself, but I have shown loads of other people how to find this, is to actually understand how these 3 mistakes intersect. So firstly, understand that we want to find our success in that middle ground and not be at the extremities. Secondly, understand that to get to that middle ground, we may not be doing at first what we were completely passionate about when we started out. We may have this amazing vision of how we want to help people or an interest. And I'm not saying that we're not going to do that, but we may also have to do other things as well to give us both the skills and the financial standings to make sure that we can do that. So learn through one business to be able to project that onto another. And finally, then also make sure that when we're in our boat that we've got more than one paddle and we've got other people rowing with us. And this is exactly what I did. That chart that I showed you, that was one of my several paddles that I had when I started out. I had a paddle that gave me the skill. And because that was a business where I was not on my own, I had other people in my boat. So in this middle ground, you can find opportunities where you partner with other organizations, maybe reselling their products or services, maybe working together in collaboration, working to deliver products to one client, but as a group. You get other people in your boat that are pulling in the same direction, and that massively helps. And when you bring that all together, that's where you find your true success. So that's really the blueprint that I wanted to give you today, so that you can understand that you need to be looking in this middle ground and finding this intersection there. And I'd love you to be able to take that and implement that yourself. If you find that actually you want some help implementing that, personally, I'm doing quite a lot of work. I really want to see other people doing this. And we're going to be in the next month or so launching what we're calling our Choices program, which will be completely free information to help people find their second oars, to find people to get in boats with, and to find that middle ground where they have that security. So if that's something that you're interested in, it is something that we're just about to launch for the first time, this Choices program. So please do contact me if that's something you're interested in. I'd absolutely love to get you involved. We'll be doing a webinar in the next month or so to share with people exactly how they get involved in that, and how they can be part of that group to help more and more people make sure that their boat is propelling forward in the right direction. And really, for all of you that have got those amazing business ideas out there of how you're going to help people, how you're going to make your impact on the world, even if the world's been disrupted by COVID-19, we want to help give you the solid standings so that you can do that. Because my belief is that we need more entrepreneurs like you. Whether you call yourself an entrepreneur or not, we need people like you that are willing to get out there and actually make a difference in the world. And there'll be those kind of people that will solve so many of the problems that we're seeing today. So that brings me to the end of the slides that I've got for you. Alex, I don't know if you want to open up the or I probably need to stop sharing, don't I? And then we can see some lovely faces again.
Yeah, there's your lovely face.
Oh, mine is up. I can't see mine. Oh, maybe I probably need to come out of this, don't I, so I can see.
Yeah,
oh, there you go. Hello. So I hope that's been helpful. I'd love to take any questions that anyone's got. And I know Alex and I, we might want to talk a little bit about Instagram as well, because Alex knows that I'm on a big Instagram journey at the moment.
Yeah, I've joined the journey.
So yeah, so happy to take some questions.
Yeah, I've got some private questions that have come through, and then Borislav has posted up here. How do you split your time? Good question. How do you split your time between full-time jobs, 3 gigs, and not leading to burnout, i.e. protecting your mental health from reaching the burnout point?
Fantastic question, right? So everything, I think everyone has stumbled over this at times. So firstly, was that Boris, did you say, was saying that?
Yeah.
Boris, you sound like an amazing person if you've got all that going on. And I know how hard you work, and anyone that's under any reality, or anyone that sees these posts about entrepreneurship and the person sitting on the beach sipping the pina colada, I think those of us that have done it have known it's hard work, right? So Boris sounds like he's already got the right mindset to accept that it's hard work, but there are real things you can do. Being a mum, single mum around kids, and you know, this is kind of my forte, is understanding that I like to be very, very disciplined about my time. And in fact, one of the things we're doing on our Choices program is we're going to do a no time, no problem option that people can opt into to really teach these skills, because there are certain things you can do in terms of blocking and segmenting your time and being really strict about that. So going, actually, this is my job time. And when you have a job, alongside my businesses, I also have a non-exec director role, so I do work in the corporate space as well, and I'm really, really bullish around this is the time that I've got, and I'm going to give you 100% of my time when I'm there, but that's the time that you've got. And the difference is when you show people that when they're in your kind of segment, you give them 100%, they will accept the fact that they get that segment. So that's what's really important, is segmenting the time, and that goes equally for the kids, for example. So my kids know that come 4 o'clock on a pre-COVID-19, when they weren't at home all the time, but come 4 o'clock when I pick them up from school, they had my time till 8 o'clock. Nobody else, no phone calls, nothing. It was exclusively my time. Now, granted, a lot of the time they didn't want my time. They just wanted to play on their screens. But mummy, go do more work. We wanted to select, but it has that real discipline.
Yeah, do you know, I was talking about this yesterday, and I said I was with Danny Gray from War Paint for Men, and I was saying we were both saying what we've found has worked really well is having a morning routine and a late afternoon routine as well. And you know, chaos can reign in between there, but if you've got those two bookmarks that are, you know, your time to start your day and end your day, it just gives you like mentally so much more focus and structure. That for me, it's a real good coping tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a couple of other things that you can also do. So I plan a 4-day week. I work a 5-day week, but I plan a 4-day week, because I don't know about you, but something always happens, right? So I know, so every minute you spend planning makes so much difference. So I sit down and I segment my tasks. So I know, for example, I have my hit list of tasks in my notebook for today, and I know what the key tasks, and by each task I write how long it's going to take. And I'm lenient with that, because if I think something's going to take half a day, sometimes it will take 3/4 of a day. And I generally work in quarter, halves, 3/4. And if it's a day, then it's too big. It needs to be broken down into smaller tasks, if that makes sense. And then I plan in. So when I've got my working time, this half day, that's what I'm doing this morning. The nice thing about that is it stops you getting that overwhelm, and it stops you feeling like you're not achieving something, and you focus. There's some really interesting science that says every time you get distracted, it takes around 20 minutes to get back into something. So when I'm doing a task, I focus on it and I don't let anything else distract me, and then you get it done and you feel great about yourself. You're like, yes, I've done it. So that really helps, keeping it a 4-day week and planning in. The other thing, I
like that. I hadn't heard of that before, because I'll end up and everything gets piled into Friday that didn't get done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then it's like the overwhelm before the bloody weekend, which is the last time I want to get overwhelmed.
Absolutely. And going back to Boris's comment as well, looking after yourself as well, making sure, you know, I do 3 runs a week, and that is usually, I'll agree, like, that's the most important thing. I know if I leave that to the end of the day, it gets knocked off, so that goes first. Sometimes it's the things that you need to do for yourself you have to do first. So again, really important to schedule in the stuff for you, the selfish stuff. Even if that's scheduling in, I'm gonna have a day, and I do this occasionally. Sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna have a day, a working day, especially when the kids are at school, when I am going to take them to school and I'm going to come back, I'm going to get back in my pajamas. I'm going to get back into bed. I'm going to read a good book and just have a really like a selfish day. And after that downtime, you're so much more effective after. So give yourself permission to do that, because you're much more productive. You get more done. And then I was going to give you one other really good thing around time. Oh, it's gone from my head. It'll come back in a minute.
It'll come back. No, I've only learnt that in the last year, and I've probably only because I've hated running all my life, and then since last May, I'm now running addict. And if I've learned, if I schedule them in, it'll happen. If I don't schedule it in, guess what? It doesn't happen. And then I beat myself up about the fact that I didn't get the exercise in. Borislav has come back. Thank you, Fran. I'm already on 7-day working week with streamlined plans, and my full-time job only takes 50 hours a week. Smiley emoji, though.
Okay, so the other thing again, to be brutally honest, then again, is sometimes you have to take tough choices, right? And you have to sometimes sit down with that blank sheet of paper and go, where do I want to get to in my life, right? Sometimes it goes back when you find yourself, you're in that turmoil, you need to stop and go, do you know what? I actually do have choices here. And one thing I'd ask people is never let anybody tell you don't have choices. Everybody has choices. And sometimes we can feel so under pressure financially or through family or through work, and sometimes we need to remind ourselves, have belief in ourselves that we have choices, that we can achieve different things, we can do different things. So take that blank sheet of paper and go, actually, why am I ending up in this situation where it's so chaotic? Yes, I've got bills to pay, yes, I need to, but am I doing the things that are the best way for me to do that? And is there a different way that I could rethink this? And this is a great way. Then don't do this on your own. Go and find a forward-thinking friend or somebody else that's in the same situation, and bounce ideas off each other and go, look, this is the situation I'm in. What do you think? Can you see how I can better do this? Am I wasting my time doing this? And so on. And there have been times when I've done that with great friends, and who've said to me, I remember a real dear friend of mine once said to me in a business that I was involved in, he said, when are you going to realize that you are never going to get what you want out of this? You're banging your head against a brick wall. And for me, it was that light bulb moment of going, oh my God, yeah, I am. I need to move on from this. And it was me releasing the emotional ties that I had to that to make me move on.
Yeah, and you know what I've found really useful is the book called The One Thing by a guy called Gary Keller, and it's you know, what is that big domino that knocks down or your other domino? So it could be, you know, this month, what is my one thing that I need to accomplish that will make everything else in my life easier? Then this week, what is the one thing this week? And then today, what is the one thing today? And I find that, and like you said, I now learned to like batch tasks. So like a block of time, I will, for example, in my business, you know, interview 4 people for my podcast in one go. And then the next day it might be, I'll edit those 4 episodes, but to try and do one a day like that just blows your head off. So
yeah, absolutely. And actually, Alex, you remind me of the thing I forgot, which was another brilliant book called Time by Dan Pink, who also wrote he's a great author.
What was his name, friend? Sorry?
Daniel Pink. Daniel
Pink. Okay, I'm writing that down as well.
In that book, he talks about everybody has a cycle in their day where they have like their really productive period. Then they usually have a slump. Then they kind of have a plateau and so on. And everybody, there's like 3 or 4 cycles, and you're one of them. And once you understand your cycle, you can then be really conscious about when you work and your most time-effective time. So for me, for example, I'm really effective in the morning, as you know, Alex, because I was messaging you at silly o'clock this morning.
I'm the same.
So my really effective time is first thing in the morning, and then usually around 2 o'clock I have my slump. Like 2 o'clock I just so what I do now is, because I'm conscious of that, I often plan in a lot of my calls, because I really enjoy chatting to people. So if I've got to have a work call or a sales call, I'll do that at 2 o'clock, because I know if I'm sitting on my computer on my own, I'm not going to get much done. So it's a really great way to time in that, you know, when you know where your slumps are, and then when you know when you get your recovery, then you go, oh, I'll time in this then, because that'll be a really good time to get that done. So it's worth either reading that book, or also Tim Ferriss did a fantastic interview with Dan Pink about that.
Oh, okay, did he?
The whole concept. So find that podcast. If anyone can't find it, mail me after, and I'll send you the link to it. It's a brilliant podcast where he talks about this kind of slump in the day.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as you. Mine is literally something like, you know, 1-2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm gone. I need something, so I'll try and schedule these low-level tasks. Exactly the same. So a load of questions. So I will dive. This one kind of segues into what you were just talking about. So what processes do you go through to select a suitable business to partner?
Really great question. So we look at things like proven track record. So you want to see, does that business, how long, so if I'm looking at partners, how long have they been around? I'm always a little bit cautious of things that are new. There's something, one of my mentors always said to me, brilliant quote, which I always get it slightly mixed up because I'm a bit dyslexic, so bear with me. But he said, pioneers get shot, settlers get rich. So again, yes, there's always going to be some pioneers that absolutely did, but even if you look at things like Amazon weren't the first people to sell books online. They just found other people, saw them make a success, and then they made more of a success of it themselves. So first thing is you're looking for proven track record, even if it's not exactly how you'd want to do it. It's a proven track record and solidity. Again, if you're looking at people to partner with, values and ethics are really important. Do they align with your values and ethics? But have they got proven? Can you find other people that have succeeded in that? That for me is like the #1 tick in the box. There are other people that have succeeded, yes. Then you look for, is there still demand in the market? Is this a fad, or is this a product or service? So a great example of this is something like Bitcoin. I never really got involved in it. If I'm honest, I don't fully understand it, but if you look at the interest in it, there was this massive rise in interest, and then it's fallen. And of course, if you were lucky enough to get in the beginning, or I mean, even something like fidget spinners, right? There was a massive interest in, and people were going, right, I've got to go and invest in fidget spinners and sell fidget spinners, but that's got no longevity in it. So again, you're looking for stuff that's got long market term value, especially if you're looking for things to be those extra oars in your boat. You want things, if you've got a passion, because really all I want to do is help people build their passions and make a success out of that. But if you've got a passion over here, you need to make sure that the oars that you're using are long-term and sustainable and align with your values, so that actually they will continue providing you learnings and funding so that you have the time to do your thing over here.
Great answer. Might have covered some of this, but you might want to touch on it again. Amara says, how do you focus when you have many interests and ideas? I really struggle with that. And so do most entrepreneurs. But
completely. So and I am as guilty as anyone of this, because I'm like, whoa, and literally in the last 2-3 days I've had like 3 new business ideas. So partly again, it's so having a really good environment. So I always talk about having a high performance environment of people that you work in that hold you accountable. So accountability is so important. When you've done the correct market research for what you're going to do, and you've proven, as we just spoke about, that you've got something that's solid, then what you want to do is commit to that. And maybe I would never commit to more than 3 things at once if you can, and one thing may break down into 3 smaller things, if that makes sense. So commit to one thing, and this is where again you see so many people going, oh, I'm going to launch an online course, I'm going to launch this, I'm going to, and they're all over the place, right? So commit to one thing and do it really, really well. When you've cracked it, and by cracking it, I mean you are earning a regular income out of it, that is, you've financially cracked it, not just gone, I've learned the knowledge, but I've cracked it, then you can look at other things. So again, you'll know from the conversations I've had, I've got goal 17 that goes. Before that, I have other businesses that I've built that I've cracked now, and they do their thing. And now my new little thing is I'm kind of going, I want to crack Instagram, and I want to learn how to do that. And so that's where I'm going to focus my attention. These things are now sustainable. They are doing their thing. One is completely fine. I don't need to think about it. The goal 17 still needs nurturing. So that's one of my goals, but Instagram is the other one where I'm going, I'm really going to crack this now and invest. I'm not going to go, well, let me see if I can also do Facebook groups at the moment, because I've heard people talk about Facebook. Yeah. I'm going to try and do them, and I'm going to try. No, I'm going to focus on this and absolutely crack it, and then I'll move on to the next thing. Did that answer the question? I went off.
Yeah. No, it's good. Interesting. I chatted to a chap who I didn't know about up until recently. A chap called Matt Haycox, and he was on Channel 5's Rich House Poor House on Sunday, and then by Tuesday he was the Sun's SME business advisor, doing like live videos for them as well. And then he said on Monday he's on the Real Housewives of Cheshire, and I was like, my God, talk about 3 varied, crazy things.
So there's a slight contradiction here, right? So partly I'm saying to you have multiple oars, but at the same time I'm saying focus. So it's about taking those things and not taking too many and having like 3 or 5, if that you can't cope with, but taking one at a time, focusing, committing, getting it up and running, getting it going, so that it has the momentum. The biggest success strategy in business is momentum. Once you create momentum in business, and again, it'll be the same on Instagram. So I'm creating the momentum. Everything is about momentum. So it's about starting something, focus on it, and getting momentum. So is it Alira, you said? Sorry, that asked this
it was Amara.
So Amara, again, the thing to really do with this, Amara, is to focus on things and then put yourself in an environment where there are others that are going to hold you accountable. Look at even potentially getting a business coach if you can afford to do that. I always have mentors and coaches, not always the same ones. I believe that you should evolve and have different people at different times in your life or your journey. But so great to have somebody that says, right, I want to help you focus. This is what you're focusing on. And it gives you that accountability. If you can't afford to get somebody to do that for you or with you, then find a success buddy. In the early days, and those of you that follow me will know that I had two friends that were the two guys that became, the three of us became success buddies, and we built multi-million-pound businesses together because we were just there for each other. We probably worked very closely together for 5 solid years, and messaged every morning, just quickly, what your numbers, how's it going, keeping yourself accountable. So that, as well as a coach, is another fantastic strategy.
Interesting. Like we talked about Instagram. Matt brought this up, Matt Haycox, when I chatted to him, and he said I guess you could call it like a micro influencer type level. He only had, I'd say, like 12,000 followers on there, and he said it started 2 years ago, but he decided when this lockdown happened he was going to focus on it. So he said, every day I've done a live Instagram live at 9 p.m. at night, and he said, you know, the first day about 30 people on there, maybe got 2 comments, and he goes, yesterday I had 10,000 people watching live and 400 comments, and every day he's brought on a different guest. And of course, as he's built that momentum, the guests have got bigger and the guests have had bigger followings, and by inviting them on, and when you get that notification, everybody kind of piles in. And he was just saying, again, it's just like, you know, compounded over time, just that consistency, one small step every day. And I said to him, geez, man, I said, I was watching Jared Leto do a live, who's like lead singer of 10 Seconds to Mars and Hollywood A-lister, you know, acted in Troy with Brad Pitt, and he only had 6,000 people watching his live. So I said, you're killing it. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, absolutely. And I mean, the fascination, I think, for me around Instagram is that is 60 to 70% of users buy from Instagram. So if you're running any kind of small business, that's why that's what's piqued my interest in it, is that it's not, so Facebook is very much share your photos with your mum these days, right? Yet now the income streams from Facebook are groups and creating that engagement through groups, which is why loads of people are doing it. But then kind of everyone's starting to do that now. So again, you get to that point where if you have to work out, there's always space for new people to come to the market with new ideas and new things like that. But I kind of looked and went, okay, I've done groups before, I've got that's fine. But what's really fascinating me about Instagram is this two things really, that high buyer ratio, the fact that it has interesting more generational cross spread now. So the younger generations are in there, but also the older ones. That's quite interesting. But also it just seems so unfair that certain people seem to thrive and others don't. And so I went on a mission to find out, well, how can we help small business owners get that success? I believe that I found the right people and the right systems to do that now, but I would never teach it to other people till I've done it myself. So that's why I'm doing it myself. So those of you that are interested, you're welcome to follow me on Instagram. I'm taking people on that journey with me whilst I go through learning how to grow an audience. So the aim is to get to 10,000 followers within a few months. And then 10,000 is really important because it unlocks loads of capabilities in Instagram. And if I can do that, then I know that we can help other small business owners do it. And I think that's so important because there are, Alex, you'll know because you followed me for a while, we launched this Purpose Over Pouts campaign a while ago to really try and help not just have people with pouty photos, but have people that were doing good in the world, small business owners that were making a difference, and give them the platform. And we've got some really exciting things, I think, through Instagram. We should be able to give those people with purpose the platform as well, and that's all coming. But again, this is focus. Like, I've got all this amazing stuff that's building, but task number one is focus. I have to get myself, I have to prove that I can do it myself before we do it for others. So that's kind of the focus when it comes to that project.
Yeah, I signed up for that. My wife has as well, by the way.
Oh,
so,
amazing. Brilliant.
She's a beauty salon owner. So
telling me about pizzas and things. I love it when people tell me. So there's an amazing person that's wood-fired pizzas, and they message me every day saying, I'm watching you between my dough, and that kind of stuff. It's brilliant to get people to have that interaction, and it makes it more fun for them as well. So
yeah, it does. It does. Let's have a quick look. It has to be you as well. So Costa Joan says, keeping up with promotions of email, database, Facebook, Insta, Twitter is so time consuming. It detracts so much time from actually creating the product content. How can you streamline this? Good question.
Yeah, another great question. So yes, so there's so much, right? So what was that phrase that our parents probably say, jack of all trades, master of none, right? There's an extent to that is actually going, well, where am I going to focus? So if you look at all the social media streams, all they are is portals to your customers. So first question is, where are my customers? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Are they on LinkedIn? Blah, blah, blah. Where are they? When you know where they are, or where majority of them are, then just focus on that. Focus on mastering that. Then in terms of when you then go, well, now I know where my customers are, I know how to build an audience, then you focus on how do you then engage that audience, and you pick one way to engage that audience and you master that. Once you've mastered things and you've mastered it through to income generation, then you go, okay, I've mastered that. I'm going to keep doing that, but I can now have the capacity to take on the next thing. So I haven't done Instagram because I did Facebook and then I did LinkedIn. Now that I've got those up and running and I feel, I know I can go to LinkedIn and generate customers for my market. I know what I'm doing there. I'm confident in that. That's why I'm moving on to the next thing. So I think it's taking one thing at a time. And then in terms of helping you master that, find the right people, find the people that are already doing this, that are going to teach you, that you share their values, and that can teach you how to do it. And again, look for their success. This is why I'm not going to teach anyone about Instagram until I've done it myself. You can come on the journey and learn what I'm learning with me, but I won't teach it to anyone until I've done it myself. So find people that you can work with that are either on that journey or have done it themselves. And then just keep repeating that. One of the fascinating things that you have to be really cautious of is it's amazing how when we have something that's working, we stop doing it to do the new shiny thing. And it's especially, again, if you've got that little bit of entrepreneurialism in you, that's your natural thing. So you need to find ways to continue doing what you're doing, find ways to keep what's always worked, to keep doing it, and keep it fresh and exciting for you so that you do keep doing it. But don't stop doing what works to do the new shiny thing.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Joan, my example is, I tried to do all of those things that you were trying to do before and probably not getting massively anywhere. So I decided to focus on podcasting, started with 2 listeners in week 1, clearly my mother and my wife, and then kind of middling around, getting a couple of thousand downloads and not a huge amount. And then last year I decided, right, do you know what, I've built a small audience here, I really need to focus on this. Now is the time. And I made it my #1 priority, and within 5 months I got a #1 rated podcast in the UK. From now it's from the UK to Uganda, and I've done it for clients as well, and built it up to 15,000 people. So now I've switched to Facebook groups because my audience happens to be there. Started a free Facebook group, and in 2.5 weeks we've got 500 people in there wanting to start a podcast, and that's without having the time to promote it. So 100% agree with what Fran says, focus in on one thing, get that right, and now I've got a small team that can do all of the tasks that I was doing myself before, and which were kind of holding me back from wanting to do anything else. To free up my time and actually focus on what I'm passionate about, which is helping other entrepreneurs start a podcast.
Amazing. And probably like me, Alex, you probably suffer from the FOMO, right? The fear of missing out, because one of it's, again, especially if you're one of those kind of really like sparky people that you're always looking at, oh, there's this opportunity, blah, blah, blah. And that's an amazing quality to have, especially as somebody that wants to run a business, but you need to find the things that work and focus on them first so that you've got the time. And actually, if you look at my journey, the effort that I put in over those 10 years around the kids means that I do have the time now. I have the time to experiment. I have the time to invest. I have the time to do these things. I'm very driven by helping other people, but I couldn't help anyone else if I hadn't sorted myself out, if I hadn't got my income covered. So again, if you're one of those people that's listening that's really got that passion, you know you've got it in you to help other people, then first off, let's get, you know, when they teach you the safety procedure in an aeroplane, not that any of us are going on an airplane anytime soon, but when they teach you, you know, when the masks drop down, what do they say? They say, put it on yourself first and then help others. And you have to approach your income activities in exactly the same way. Put your own mask on first. Again, even if it's not the mask that you know is going to help loads of other people, get your own oxygen supply first, and then you can help others. And just focus on that one oxygen mask till you've got it.
I heard private jets industry is doing really well at the moment.
Oh, really?
So I come from the airline industry. I was 16 and a half years with Virgin Atlantic, and my old boss was Richard Branson, funnily enough.
Oh, really?
And,
there you go.
Yeah, apparently the private jet business is absolutely killing it, because you think it's only going to get bigger, because when they do relax the guidelines, those who've got the money, who don't want to sit with anyone else in business or first class, but can afford to, they're going to go on a private jet.
But that's, you see, that's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Because what's happened with COVID-19 is that, you know, the whole world has been turned on its head, and all the rules that we used to have, they're all gone, right? And the world is starting with a blank sheet of paper again, pretty much. And those of us that can think differently then will be the ones that succeed. Now, the challenge with that is, of course, if you are one of those people that sees the opportunities, is that you're that like deer in the headlight. There's so many opportunities. Where do I go? So again, don't get that fear of missing out. Pick your one thing. Become really good. One or two things. Like 1 to 3 things, if I'm completely honest, is maximum. Nobody can do more than that. And again, stagger them, not all at once. And just make sure you've got those multiple streams of income. You've got your oxygen mask on first. And then when you've got that financial standing and that stability, then you can start doing lots of different things. But don't get taken away by all the shiny lights.
That's what happened to me. See, that's what happened to me. I was always trying to do 3+ things, and then this year I was like, okay, this year is the year I actually say no instead of just saying yes to everything. Because you say yes and it opens amazing possibilities and contacts and networks, but is that actually serving you? And if you can't look after yourself, how can you look after anybody else?
And again, one of my mentors said to me, because I was exactly that person, said saying yes to one thing is saying no to something else.
Yes, like that. Very good.
Every time you say yes, you've got to think, if I'm saying yes to this, what am I saying no to? And then that helps you weigh it up.
And also, you always think, you know, everybody has got their own agenda, of course. So you just think, serve your own agenda. You know, you always remember my best friend saying to me when I was doing this, he just said, you know, are you in the danger, Alex, of living somebody else's dream and not living your own dream? And I was like, ooh. I like that one. Right? Fair. Couple of follow-up questions. Amara says, although social media, i.e. Insta Lives, are great tools, I find them to be overwhelming for introverts. Podcasting, voice of radio, hide behind the audio. How are you keeping that balance between what is work and what is personal on Instagram? That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I am looking to be a virtual project manager, so my brand will be me. Would it be a mistake to not share personal stories on Instagram to connect with followers?
Okay, so a couple of great questions. So the the first bit, the very first bit, we've got the personal brand stuff. What was the very first part of that again, Alex? It was
that was, how are you keeping that balance between what is work and what is personal on Instagram?
So
yeah, that's a good question.
So what I would say for this is, for every person, it's going to be different. And and the introvert question. So I'm going to share on my Insta a few days ago, because I found a load of pictures of me when I was a kid, and like they are hilarious, right? Because I wouldn't. One of them, I've got a hat over my face because I just didn't even want my photo taken, right? And I am inherently quite introverted. I'm, you know, I know a lot of people are struggling with isolation. I'm kind of loving it. It's really, like, I'm hating what's going on in the world, but I'm completely happy. So just first thing, if you are one of those introverted people, how do you then get the confidence to to present, to be in front of camera. And again, it goes back to that one small step at a time. I started one little video, maybe just to some friends, one just very, very small steps at a time that gradually build your confidence. And before you know it, you're on stage in front of 4,000 people and you're cool with it. But but that doesn't, again, it doesn't, people see that, they don't see all the tiny little steps that it took on the way there. So what I would say is don't, just because you are an introvert, don't assume you can't do stuff. Just appreciate that your journey is going to be different to, say, somebody that's more extroverted, but that you'll bring more value, because most people out there are probably more like you, so they'll relate to you and they'll understand that you've gone through their journey, so they can do it. And I guess in terms of the mindset around this is actually, and this sounds harsh, but nobody cares about you anyway. They only care about themselves. So when you achieve your own milestones, if you can help others do that, then they're going to relate to you better anyway. So if you've got that challenge, look at that as a huge opportunity to actually really grow. So firstly, don't worry if you're an introvert. Then second question about how much personal stuff should you share? Firstly, it's personal preference, right? I didn't want to share any pictures of my kids face on in the public domain when they were little. I just didn't want to do it. Now they're a bit older, they want to do it themselves. So I'm kind of like, well, it's their choice, right? So in which case maybe I will share a little bit more of them. But so first element is personal choice. What do you feel comfortable? Second is research. So go and find the person that you, or 5 to 10 people that you think are where you want to be at, in terms of they've got the Instagram profile that you want to have, they've got the following, they've got the engagement, and look at what they're doing, and look at where, how many people are commenting, how many people are engaging, and what they're doing, and follow them and look at what they're doing. Once you've done that, then you can model. So again, it's that pioneers and settlers. You don't need to be the pioneer here. Go and find out what the pioneers did and copy them. And then the third bit is try it, test it, right? Put something out there, see how comfortable you are with it, and then also put something out there and see what response it gets. If it doesn't get any response, then and that's exactly what I'm doing on my Insta. I'm trying stuff at the moment. So again, those that are following me, you'll see I'm trying different things, and you'll see that evolve. And obviously I'm keeping a very detailed diary of what I'm trying, so that I can then share what I've learned through that journey with others once I've learned it. But it's, again, model, try, see what others are doing, and just never lack the belief in yourself. Don't ever look at someone else and believe you can't do it. Everybody, and this is, I hate to say, it's something that women specifically struggle with, and as a woman, me too, not that me too, the other me too, I really struggle with this, putting yourself out there, and we're really bad. So when I did my presentation, sharing with you my successes, I hate doing it, but you have to do it. So that it helps, not for me, I have to do it because it helps get my message across, which helps the people that I want to help. So again, all those things, just have the belief in yourself that you're as good as anyone else out there.
I took your advice with that one on Instagram, interestingly enough, because I was looking at my stuff and it was all, this is the artwork of the next podcast, and it was all very samey and staged and not personal. And then I posted, you see, like me out for my run to the 10K around Sandbanks last week, and then I looked at who liked it afterwards, and let me see if I can get that one on there, just to show you, because it is relevant. Then all of a sudden, it literally went all of these. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all new people. So I now need to go back and actually communicate with them. But it was like, instead of getting like 4 or 5 likes, I've literally ended up with like probably 25, 30 new people who've checked out who am I and what I'm doing. So it's like, interesting.
And I mean, I'm definitely, I'm not there yet, but I'm definitely working out patterns in this. So the idea is I'm a bit of a, you now know I'm an introvert. You can also now learn that I'm a bit of a geek as well. So I love a bit of data. So doing a lot of data analysis on everything that we're doing to effectively package that up eventually to say to people, right, this is the formula that works at the moment. And that'll always be changing, but this is what seems to work. This is the balance that seems in your sector. This is the balance that seems to strike the right chord with people. Yeah, go on. Nice work, buddy.
Just realised, thank you, really chatting away, and that time is marching on. We've literally got about 5 minutes, so I will. A couple of questions here that we'll finish up on. I've got a whole load more of questions, but we're not even going to get to them.
Just saying that on Alex. If anyone wants to message me questions after, please do, or go on Instagram and we can answer them on it. In fact, actually, good to
Fran
do.
Global, isn't it?
Fran Global, FRANB, the letter B for Boorman Global. So yeah, come on there, because then if you ask a question on there, then others can see your answer, because if it's your question, loads of other people will have it. So, but anyway, no, carry on, go for it, Alex.
I'll finish up with Boris's comment just to finish. It makes sense to finish up on you talking about. He's asked you to talk a little bit more about your initiative in Goal 17, but we'll just answer these 2 questions first. So Amara says, that's great advice. Thanks both. Please share our Insta handles, your Insta handles. I'll type them on here. Is your Insta handle Fran Global or Fran B?
Fran B. Everything's Fran B Global.
I'll type that up now. And Vivek says, is there a danger that people use COVID-19 as a catalyst to start a business that is a knee-jerk reaction that doesn't have a future? How are you planning medium-term goals in this crisis?
Really great question. And yeah, I mean, we're already seeing people. So there will be some people that start things now that will make a quick buck. I hate that phrase, but you know what I mean, that they will capitalize on the situation. And do you know what, if you see an opportunity like that and you can make a good chunk of money or make a big difference even in a short period of time, that's fine, as long as your expectations are, you understand that it's a fad, right? It's going to come and go. So just be conscious of that. Personally, I like to look at the more longer term solutions. Excuse me. And what we have to remember is this isn't just about COVID-19. Post COVID-19, we'll be going into a recession, and that's going to shift all sorts of things. So my personal thinking at the moment, especially, is to have those security businesses in partnerships with others that give me the stability, but to then be doing things that potentially you build something with the view in terms of midterm to exits when we go on the next up. Because what naturally happens in business is when there's a recession, all the entrepreneurs get busy, they create loads of really great little businesses, they build them up. All the big businesses, meanwhile, are in panic stations. So they go back to their core business. So they go back to, do you know, we're an accountancy firm, we're just going to do accountancy. Mm. Whereas when the times are getting good, they start going, oh, we've got all our accounts, that's going really well as a big company. So we can now pick up lots of different little things. So we're going to now also do some human capital consultancy, for example. And what happens is that the entrepreneurs down here in the recession that are building all these little businesses, as the economy rises in 5-10 years, however long it takes, the big companies, when they start to look to expand, they then buy up those small companies. So now is a great time to be starting something where you go, actually, I can start something now with the view 5-10 years time. If I build it successfully enough, I'll get acquired by a bigger company. But at the moment, the bigger companies are only going to be focusing on their core business. But that also leaves loads of opportunities that all the other stuff that they were doing pre-COVID, they're going to stop and go back to focusing on their core business. So it's an absolutely brilliant time now to be looking for what business. And when I say what business, again, it's that kind of kid in the sweet shop, all these opportunities. Go back to who you are and what your skill set is, or what you're really, you know, what value you can offer. So firstly, find partnerships that give you the financial security, which may be just learning business skills. But secondly, then go and find what is your passion, or what is it that, and how can you build that? Now, the thing with those kind of businesses is realistically, it takes time before you earn money from them, or serious money. So my personal suggestion to people is find something that gives you the money and the financial standings now, and that through the Choices program that we'll launch later this month, not this month, next month, we'll be actually giving people suggestions of things they can do that will give them that. But then the second thing is then, if you've got your passion, but build that alongside, but be realistic that you've got a mid to long-term plan for that, and make sure you pick the one thing. So going back to the question, how do you pick the right thing? Pick one. Like, don't pick one thing that aligns with your values and your skill sets and what you can learn. So again, when I did Goal 17, I picked mentoring. It was like, that is what we're going to do, that we are going to become the world leaders in that. And that's where the focus has been.
What's your take on this? And this is me going off at a tangent, but a friend of mine, Sabrina, launched a business. She was on The Apprentice a couple of years ago, and she just launched a business with regard to that question being knee-jerk reaction to COVID-19. So she launched a business called shoppingslots.co.uk, which basically, you know, the tech on the website finds the available shopping slots.
Okay.
And launched it on Sunday. By Wednesday, they'd had over 1 million website visits. They've got a subscription, which is only like £2.19, but they had something like 50,000 people sign up for that.
Yeah.
And she's now on the phone to me going, do you know any investors? Do you know any, data? Do you know anything about data? And I'm just thinking, what are the mid long term plans with this? And I just thought, interested to know your take. Does there need to be a mid long term plan?
So again, it's your expectation, isn't it, Alex? If she probably, I'm sure she's a clever girl. She knows she's capitalizing on she's had an idea. She's proven the concept. She's going to capitalize on it. But I'm pretty sure she'll be conscious that when life gets back to normal, nobody's going to be using it because that we'll all be able to get our shopping slots again. So nobody now. So in terms of that, as long as you're conscious and do you know what, I can make a lump of money now and that'll be great, or I can help a group of people right now and that's great. Just as long as your expectation isn't then to extend that further on. Now she may have an idea of how she can use that technology to apply it to something different.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And
that data and
there's huge value in the database of people. So there may be a longer term plan on that. But I guess the thing I want to say to a lot of people on this call, if you've got one of those ideas, run with it, go with it. But again, it's that scale of job and entrepreneur that actually there are only a few ideas like that. That doesn't mean all of us need one of those ideas. The rest of us could be doing something. We don't all have to be the pioneers, right? We could be doing something similar, or we could even potentially be looking at going to an organization like that and becoming a reseller for them to boost something in the meantime, rather than necessarily always having to be that pioneer. So you don't have to be that person. You can be, and if you are that person, amazing. And in some ways, I suppose with Goal 17, I am the pioneer in that particular sector, and that's great. But that's a bumpy ride, and you need a strong gut to go on that ride. And I can do that because I have the financial stability and the skills of 13 years in business to do it.
Yeah. A couple of questions to finish. We're asking everybody these questions, all our guests, and then put them on a video montage. So 2 questions. If you had £10,000 to start a business idea today, what would it be?
Oh, to start a business, I would, good question. So I'd invest in myself. I think I've always found that I've invested in other businesses. So firstly, I would invest in myself. Because of the time that we have, I'd invest in increasing my skills, and I would look at what my skill set is and then work out how I can use that skill set to serve the market. So to give you an example, at the moment we are focusing we run a mentoring training company, so we're focusing on how do you connect people in remote periods of time, but it's one of the things I think will go on further into the future. Does that answer your question? Probably doesn't really answer it.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. I like that one. And if you had £1 million to invest in an industry today, what industry would you invest in?
Interesting. So
you can't say Zoom.
no. Well, so funny enough, I was going to be. I'm a bit of a conformist rebel, actually. So I actually wouldn't invest in tech because I think that's where everyone else is going to invest. Yep. I would invest in something that brings humans together. Because I think that two things: brings humans together and does social good. Because I think we're going to see finally, I mean, this is something that people like me have been banging on for years about creating social value, business for good is good for business, all that kind of stuff. But I actually think we're going to see a change in the way that people think, act and behave, and that they're going to realize what's really important. So anything that brings people together, and I'm not saying there'd be no tech involved in that, it'd probably be a hybrid of tech, but some things that bring humans together and bring back real good values and connection and look after our society and community. That's where I'd want to be investing my money.
2 great answers. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? I was speaking to some people and they're like, this is great, this is a new business model, we're all going to go online with this technology. And I was like, do you know what? I think when we come out of this, people will be craving human connection, human contact, and the things like this event we were all meant to speak at next week at Olympia, the Festival Enterprise, will be a great catalyst to bring people together. And I think you're also right that there will be a hybrid version that you could still incorporate this to keep in touch with people regularly, but there will be, those kind of focused events. And if you can 100% add, a social value to that as well, then I think you can definitely see that just in what's been happening in social media. And, a lot of these kind of nostalgia things that have been happening as well. People have, been re-exploring past connections and that kind of thing. So good answers. Yeah, like them. Excellent. Well, thank you all very much indeed. There's thank yous from Amara and Vivek for your answers. I'm going to send an email to everybody as well, Fran. So if you got your presentation there, bring up the last slide.
I do, yeah.
If you've got it, and I'll take a screenshot of it, and then I can send everybody all of that information.
It's probably going to come up on the slide master, but you'll get the gist, right?
Yeah.
There you go. You see that?
There we go. Okay, there we go. I'm going to take a photo of that for everybody. There I am, and I'll email that to everybody in the next hour or so once we jump off this. Christina says thank you, great food for thought. And yeah, so go over to Fran B Global, follow Fran on Instagram, follow her journey on there, and you can find out all about Goal 17 on there as well. So that's been awesome as always. Thank you. Love catching up with you.
Thanks for having me, and thank you everyone for joining in, and wish you all the best of luck and best of health as well to everybody.
Likewise. Let's catch up soon.
Speak to you soon, buddy. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye now.
Bye.